All right, we're live. We are
Hello.
live. Hey, Pastor Norman.
Well, hey there, mom and dad.
How you doing, man?
Doing wonderful.
What's
Doing
the
well.
weather like in Monk's Corner?
It is going to be like in the low 70s.
Oh, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's
Just got,
sunny. It's
yeah,
nice. It's real nice.
yeah. It was sunny here, but it's just gotten a little bit overcast. But it's really nice outside. Baby girl loves it. She was outside running her. We got her a new toy, so she
Uh-oh.
was outside running her new toy. The other one she doesn't play with it so much because it was a round one. It won't even roll because it's got holes in it. It won't roll. So we ended up having to get her a new one yesterday. It
She,
is
she,
red. It's red, so you can find it quick.
oh, wow. Hey, that's, yeah, Jeff, you can't lose that. You can spot
Uh,
that.
right. Linda Lana just came in. Hey, Linda.
Well, hey there, Linda.
Yeah. Linda, thank you. We got your card and your gift, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Just wanted to let you know we did get it. And it was nice. It was nice to have, and it was a wonderful card. Thank you so much. Linda's one of our best cheerleaders.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I shared that with a couple last week about being one another's number one cheerleader.
Yeah, she's been
Hmm.
a real fan, a fan. Whenever I think of the word fan, I remember you remember that movie came on with gosh, what the guy's name? He's so popular. Can't think of his name, but it was about the Devil's Advocate. You ever seen that
Oh,
movie?
yes. That's one of my favorite movies. Yes.
Yeah. He said in there, he was the devil talking, of course, and he said, "I'm a fan of man."
That was
Yeah.
Al Pacino, wasn't it?
Al Pacino, that's right,
Al
Al Pacino.
Pacino played the devil, and Ashton
Keanu
um,
Reeves was the other
Keanu
guy.
Reeves. That's right.
That
He
was a
played
really good movie, really good
that.
movie.
Oh, that is one of my favorite movies. Yeah,
Yeah, it was really something. Leslie just came in. Hey, Leslie,
Hello, everybody.
glad you're here, darling.
Leslie.
Linda says she's
Good.
president of our fan club.
Uh oh. That
All
that's
right, Linda.
that's why we need more of those T-shirts.
Yeah, we do, and I've got to call Pearl and get on that. You reminded me. I've got so many things going on right now, just trying to get my head wrapped around it. But we're doing good, and it's good to have you guys with us today. What you gonna talk about today, young man?
Well, we're talking about change.
Yeah, well, we're always talking about change. Yeah, always talking about change. And one of the things I was listening to Bernard Jordan and Larry Reed just recently. Well, no, it wasn't Bernard. It was Carlton Pearson and Larry Reed, and he had a good video on this week that mentioned the culture of the church and how the church culture is changing. Uh, and Carlton, because Carlton is very brilliant when it comes to words and definitions, and also with the timing and the times and the seasons. He's very up on that. He mentioned the death of the Queen being the end of the era of colonialism
Mhm.
and the white elitism.
Mhm.
And Meghan Markle marrying one of the princes was another sign that that era is changing.
Mhm.
And because no longer will it be uh, this this Newtonian dogmatic type of outlook view from people that's dying out. And so the culture of the church, because of that, is changing. A lot of people, there's still a lot of religious people, but overall, generation to generation, the newer generations are coming up with very broad mind and open and more inclusive than exclusive.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that is what is changing in the culture of the church,
Mhm.
particularly the church that believes in the receiving the Holy Spirit and the baptism of the Holy Spirit and the supernatural. That part of the church, that aspect of the church. Now, if you go back to some of the older denominational churches, they don't think like that at all.
And they
So
actually never did.
they never did. Yes.
Yeah, because I actually came out of the Reformed Episcopal. That was my background,
Mm-hmm.
and I was there. It was more, I would say, more on the Catholic side,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
to experience all the different things that we experienced, more of the Pentecostal way.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
was exposed to that later on. And so basically, it was just going to church. We give a good message, and we go
Yeah.
on about our business
Yeah.
and so forth. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I did see that video with Carlton Pearson, and a matter of fact, in that video, I think the last year he actually had prophesied concerning
He
uh,
did.
the death of the Queen.
He did.
Um, and what people don't understand, religion has a large part, plays a large part in
Mm-hmm.
colonization, and so that's what we are seeing. I watched the movie. I don't know if y'all seen this movie called Alice. That kind of
I think I have, but I can't remember what it was
it's
about.
it's about a young lady. At one moment it's like slavery time, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden she escapes, and
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
so in that part, the owner played. He was actually a preacher, and
Mm-hmm.
so we understand how we was exposed to Christianity. It came through colonization.
Mm-hmm.
Once
Mm-hmm.
again, them forcing their ideology and beliefs upon
Yes.
those that was that they were
Yeah.
overseeing and so forth.
Yeah, and in that movie, Alice, the slaves that were there that he owned, they had never left that area. And so they were not from, they didn't even know that people were free.
Exactly.
And they had been living for years under this bondage of slavery, not even knowing that they, by all rights, were free. And when she got loose and found out that she was free, it was like a whole new world to her. And so
Mm,
I think that kind of speaks to how we feel when we are in religion and we get out of it.
exactly.
Even though our allegiance is still to Christ, we're not wrapped up and tied up in that religious mindset. And we
Exactly.
realize now there is a much broader, I call it the wider place. Years ago, there was a lady by the name of Catherine Rinker, I think her name was, and she wrote a book called The Wider Place.
Rosalind Rinker.
Rosalind Rinker. And we cut our teeth on that. I mean, it was the only one that we at that time heard talking uh, in an expansive way. And so that's her book was entitled The Wider Place. And so I think a lot of us, is particularly those of us who are Christian or who have been in Christian circles and have been under the law and legalism of church, when we find out that there is a much wider place to live and
Mhm.
still have your allegiance to Christ,
Uh-huh.
not lose any of your faith, not lose any, nothing changes as far as your relationship. It's just how you see things begins to change.
Exactly. And that's good because I think that is the thing that's being destroyed. The legalistic part, the
Yes,
that
yes.
kept people in boundaries and never allowed themselves to be exposed to
Mm-hmm.
anything else
Mm-hmm.
out of their community or their sphere of influence. They never ventured out, and that's funny to me because that's one of the things I had always encouraged my kids. It was funny growing up in a small town, and in this area, it is very religious, very very religious.
Well,
Uh,
North Carolina is too. It's This is the Bible Belt,
exactly.
and
Anything.
so
Yep.
that's been the predominant mindset throughout these two states. Well, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, both,
Hmm.
all three, and because it is the Bible Belt. So
Hmm.
you lived by the Bible, and you revered it, and you were actually afraid to do anything or say anything against it. And so,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Because you
it's
would
been
literally be an outcast.
exactly, exactly. So, it's living in the Bible Belt and preaching the message of liberty and freedom has been tough
Mm-hmm.
because you're going against the grain,
Mm-hmm.
and you're the majority of the people in these areas that we live in are religious Bible Belt people.
Mm-hmm.
As Larry Reed says, paper Bibles book saved. And and
Yeah, we say that. That's very common in this area. We've been saying,
yeah, paper Bible book saved. So, when you start to talk about God being the nature of God being love, and the judgments have to be suspended, and walking in forgiveness and the love nature and not being egotistical, that's a big thing for this area.
now you do know that saying came from, right? Paper Bible save.
Yeah, say that again.
Paper Bible save. You
What
know
did
where
you ask me? I had my mind on baby girl. Go ahead.
but you know where that came from, right?
No, I don't. So tell me.
That came about
Mhm.
when the iPads and all
Mhm.
the different devices that have the Bible apps.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's funny that you say that, because when you made that statement, I had a reflection back at a conference that I was at years ago, when, like I said, the iPads were becoming popular and so forth. And so it was this conference dealing actually with music. And so they had all of these people sitting at this table, and they were asking questions. And one of the guys was, going to his Bible on his app, on his iPad, and was reading stuff. And so when they opened up the floor to ask questions, this lady said, I mean, came out of nowhere and made this statement, said, now, I know that, we got these iPads and these phones and stuff now, but you want to make sure that you continue to use your
Your
paper.
paper Bible.
I could not believe he just said that. I'm like, what difference does it make if it's the paper or if it's the exact same word?
Oh, that's
So I,
hilarious.
so I saw the religious mindset she had. Just because you carry this, don't mean you know more saved or born again than anyone else. So
I know, I know.
I couldn't believe she said that. I said, did she?
And you better not go to church without your Bible, your paper Bible.
Oh, I do. I do. It, it,
I
it,
know, but I mean back in the day,
oh,
you
yeah,
you
back in
had to
the
bring
day.
your paper Bible. In
But
fact,
see,
it's a lot of people that their allegiance wasn't so much to Christ as it was to their paper Bible.
exactly.
Yeah,
And see, going back to what you were talking about, the change of culture. Again, I had a very busy weekend with ministry, and it actually started before the pandemic, whatever. But one of the things that really, and I'll be in the zone, so I kind of just block everything out.
yeah.
But one of the things that you're going to see in gatherings like that, everybody going, no matter if they're recording a live stream, everybody going to have their phone
The
up,
phones.
and they going, and that's just part of the
Yeah.
way they do stuff. And
Yes,
so we
yes.
can't describe that as being wrong or
Mhm.
evil or whatever. It's just now part of the culture. I
It
mean,
is. It is.
our phones and our technology goes with us
Mhm.
wherever we go. And
Mhm.
so that's just part of the change, like we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. It's change.
Yeah, there's a series that comes on, and I know you're familiar with it. New Amsterdam comes on
Oh, yes.
every week, and the last episode that I saw, the psychiatrist, I can't remember his name, but he had a group of young kids, teenagers, with him, and they went out hiking. Well, before they got there, he was upset because all of them were on their phones, and he was trying to talk to them, and they were absolutely paying him no attention. So
Mhm.
what he did was he took all of their phones away, and they started talking to him about the fact that he still had his phone, so he put his phone away in the bag as well. And they went off. They set off hiking. Well, about midway of the hike, they realized they were lost, and nobody knew how to find their way back.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't know which way was north or south or east or west. They couldn't tell. They didn't. None of them knew. And over in the movie, as they were sitting there and it was getting dark and it was getting cold and they were sitting there wondering what they were going to do, one of the little boys had an iPad hidden in his backpack. And of course, the doctor was thrilled to find the iPad, because then they spotted a sign that had the barcode on it that showed you where to go, how to map.
Yeah.
But had they had their phones, they would have known where to go. So, like you said, it's a part of the culture now, and we could buck it all day long, but it'll make us dinosaurs if we do that.
Exactly.
So a lot of these things just have to be accepted and adapted to, especially for our generation. It's really difficult for our generation to embrace a lot of this new technology, because we lived in a day when TV only had one button to turn on and that dial to turn to get to your station. So that was there were no bells and whistles in our day. So it was a lot simpler life. Now, with all the bells and whistles, we're like, okay, what do we do with all this?
Exactly.
But at the same time, this technology has given us all the ability to experience vast cultures, all kinds of cultures. We are no longer in a small bubble. You don't even have to leave your home, and you can experience any country, any any uh any people, indigenous people, anybody. You can. So it's really a good thing to it. And you remember there's a scripture that says when Jesus returns, he's going to come in a cloud and every eye is going to see him. Well, now, hey, the cloud to us these days is not a cloud in the sky, but it's the iCloud on the internet. And so every eye would see him on the iCloud at one time.
Exactly.
But then that means he's not returning in the sky.
But see, again, we all have to remember that in the writings of and I'll say the Bible, because they are other sacred texts that I read as well. All right. We have to remember we are being exposed to someone's idea of how they think something is going to happen, their vision or their experience or encounter. And that's what we have to remember. And so when they said we shall see him coming on a cloud, like I said, like you just said, it may have to do with the iCloud. We don't know.
And that's the case, he's not popping out of the sky.
Exactly.
So it makes you think differently. And I go back to the book of Revelation years ago when people would try to interpret the book of Revelation, which was foolish, but we tried to do it. But you have to remember that the ones who wrote it, who had the experience, they had no idea what helicopters look like, airplanes look like. So them, it could be a giant locust.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you could see a sky full of locusts, and it could be a bunch of helicopters.
Exactly. And
but they had no terminology, no words to describe those things.
Remember that happened in the movie Alice, when the father of the young man that Alice was married to, he was sharing the story concerning the young man's grandfather. And there was something because remember they had this lighter. And it was wondering where this lighter could come from. And he was explaining the encounter that his dad had. He saw this man coming from the sky. The guy that was coming down with a parachute. But again, they was never exposed to any of that because they was locked in that area. And they didn't even know that there was a change of age, change of time, nothing. They did not know. And so that is what's happening now.
It is. And it's good that we're all coming out of that bubble. I want to just mention what Linda said. She says, when I was little, my daddy said he believed God was Mother Nature, and I would have to figure out myself what God was to me when I grew up. I never had religion pushed on me growing up. And you're fortunate to not have it pushed on you.
Exactly.
Because I did. I don't think you did. in your home. He didn't have religion pushed on him,
I didn't either.
but it was pushed on him in the sense that you ought to go to church, that kind of thing. You ought to go to church. But in my case, I went to church. My grandparents on my dad's side were Pentecostal holiness, holy roller, that kind. And like I said, I've had a taste of all of it. There was Baptist. I was with my other grandmother, and then with my aunt was Presbyterian / Episcopalian. So I had the opportunity to be and frequent all of those different environments, and it made me think differently. And I never really, even though I ended up in the Pentecostal sect, I didn't really feel like I fit in most of the time, but I made myself conform. I made myself conform. I really did. Because I never felt like I really fit there.
And still don't feel like I fit.
But I made myself conform in order to be accepted.
Exactly.
And, yeah,
Exactly.
it's amazing what we do to try to be accepted.
Yeah, because even in my coming up, especially in the South. Now, when I was living in New Jersey, where I'm originally from, you know, we went to church every now and then. It wasn't something that we did on a consistent basis. It wasn't like, oh, you going to church today or anything like that. I was exposed to that when we moved. My brother and I moved down south, and so when we were staying with my grandfather, who was a lay reader at the church, hey, you going to church? And that was pretty much it. You're going to church. You come off, but we never had discussions around at home about the Bible, any of the things concerning the Spirit of God. We went to church. That was it. We did whatever we did at home. When I later on discovered the Pentecostal side of everything, it was after the encounter experience that I had, and so forth. And so even today is, you know, it's still that way. Yes, everybody believes you need to go to church, but it's not crammed down your throat. We don't have a lot of discussions about it and so forth and so on. So yeah.
And we talked about it before, how that the younger generation they're not committed to the institution. They're not committed to it.
They're loving their freedom. Literally.
Exactly. And I think in their freedom, they're trying to find God even in their freedom. Because all of us want to have peace. All of us want to be happy.
Exactly.
And so we look for it in a lot of different ways, but it's still the same desire to find God. Because only in God is there peace and happiness.
Yeah, I think everyone, and I've dealt with it for years, but I pretty much kept it in prison. But this new generation, and I believe it's many people that have this inner knowing that it got to be more to this than what we've been exposed to.
That's right. That's right.
And a lot of them, especially this generation, they're following that journey. They're taking that journey. It got to be more to this, and that's what's happening.
There is much more to this, and we were talking about something the other day, and you were saying that you were looking for it everywhere but at the source. Oh, you were talking on Tuesday night about how that when he first had his early conversion experience, he sought out all of the healing preachers and evangelists and those people that he felt had that power to do miracles. And then he was confronted with, and you could tell it better than I can, but he was confronted with the thought from Spirit saying, why are you looking for it there when you have it on the inside of you?
Exactly.
In the form of Christ. And so, that was looking for that you need and want outside of where the source is. And so all we're doing now, you included, all of the three of us, are pointing people to what they are not noticing that has always been there.
Why would you go to a watch shop to buy a car?
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Why would you try to use a a horse, or we'll put it like this: you can't put a mule out on the racetrack and make a race horse out of it.
That's true.
No, sure can't. Sure
So you
can't.
need to get your race horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Dad, that is profound. That is profound because just that statement, when you think about it, you're trying to make a mule do something that it was not created
Design.
nor is it in its nature to do. And
Mhm.
that's what we have done with people. We have
We
tried
have.
to force things and make them conform to something that they was not designed to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I began to realize, and I think it was back in 2019, I started preaching this message, and I kept saying it everywhere I went. We need to learn how to celebrate being different.
Yes. Yes.
We
We
don't
do.
celebrate that. We all, you either had to do it my way, be part of my group, my community. If you was part of any other group, you was wrong.
Exactly.
And we
Exactly.
have to realize there is so many different expressions of God Himself,
Yes.
His love.
Yes.
We need to learn how to celebrate different because if we don't, we're going to miss out on something. We're going to miss out on something that could benefit us in our journey of evolving.
Do you realize, and I know you do, that there are people, we've experienced it in our years of pastoring. There are couples who were married who never got along because of religion,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
they could not agree, and because they brought what they call hearing from God into their marriage.
Mhm.
So one of the things we have never done is used, I heard God tell me this on the other person. We've
Mhm.
never done that. We have never done that. We never brought God into the marriage when God is already in the marriage, because we were two making one. So
Exactly.
it was already godly. So we didn't have to bring God into it. Uh, and pretty much we didn't collaborate and have a lot of prayer together, did we?
Mhm.
We haven't done that. We've done it on occasion, but that wasn't something we made a tradition where we would always pray together. But one of the things we both do is we both work on our inner state and
Mhm.
allow God, and we said this on Tuesday, allow God to touch those sacred spaces that we said, that's just the way I am. And
Exactly.
you allow God to touch that place, uh, that you think that's the way you really are, then that's when change begins to happen and your relationships deepen. They
Yes.
deepen. And
Yes.
so that's the one thing that we've always done. But a lot of people have in especially in marriage, that Christianity has this idealism. You pray together, you like everything together, you do everything together, you agree on everything. It's not like that. That's fantasy. That's
Exactly.
fantasy. And
Exactly.
so we're like night and day. You can tell that by the way we do on live stream.
Mom, say that again. Please say it again. Y'all are
we're
what?
we're night and day.
And it's funny because I do that in counseling sessions with married couples. They all going back to that idea of them thinking that they're going to marry someone just like them.
And that would be so boring.
That literally,
and
literally,
and we don't like ourselves enough to live with somebody that's just like us. It would
exactly.
drive us up the wall.
Exactly. That's
And
why again we should celebrate different. And it's funny because I plan to do this demonstration whenever I can. Just like a puzzle. All right. Because I was like, man, I thought about this weekend when I was preaching from a message entitled The Sound of One.
okay,
And
it
I
sounds
had
good. I like that. I like that title. Go ahead.
yeah, I preached that Sunday evening.
The
So
sound of one.
um
Okay.
what happened was I had this vision of just two big, large puzzle pieces. And so we know when you do those that do puzzle, okay, we're trying to see what the big picture is. But you have all these different pieces that are different and shaped different. If they were shaped exactly the same, there's no
Mm,
way they could connect or come together.
exactly.
The only
That's
pieces
right.
that can actually come together are the ones that are different.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that is why I don't understand why people don't understand we are different for a reason.
And it's
through our difference that we can actually connect. And
yeah,
as we connect, then we will see the big picture.
yeah. And so we're not supposed to be clones.
Exactly.
We're not supposed to be clones. And my personality, when it comes through me, totally shines different from when his personality and it shines through him. And it's supposed to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be that way. But I think we are afraid of differences. And we want to see everybody fit into a mold. And there's a scripture I'm thinking about that says, "Be ye all of the same mind." And I thought to myself, "Oh my God, there's no way.
First Corinthians.
There is no way
First
we're gonna all be of the same mind, and we can all be of the same heart, but all of the same mind. That means everybody on the same page."
That was Paul writing to the church at Corinth who was meeting at Cleo's house because there was much division amongst them. But see, people gotta understand that to understand that whole concept of why he wrote that to them at that time, they just had this I'll say move of God or this awakening where all these abilities were beginning to manifest at each and every one of them. And so if you didn't have a gift like they didn't have, then they built the clique to themselves or whatever. And so it was their giftings and their concept of the manifestation of the Spirit of God, according to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, we all should profit. And so they were causing all these different conflicts and war against one another because you don't speak in tongues. But we you're not walking in miracles, and
or you didn't get circumcised, and we did, and all the crazy stuff.
Yeah, so it was just a settle the confusion. But at the end of the day, we know we all should have the mind of Christ.
And that mind, you were looking at Oprah and one of the old episodes of Oprah this morning on YouTube, where she had they were talking about religion,
getting saved
and getting saved, and
as the only way,
Jesus was the only way,
path, and the other path is not of God.
And the Christians in that audience were having a time. They were having a time because they were adamant Jesus is the only way you can get to heaven. That's the only way you can get to heaven.
Her statement was she was trying to ask the question, if a person's out in a certain place of the country and he never heard the gospel and he just don't know anything about Jesus,
right?
Do you think God would just send him to hell or let him go to hell?
Exactly.
That person never heard of Jesus,
and she never did talk. She never did answer back.
And that person was walking in love and being kind to people, doing good, having a heart that was open and loving. And she said, "You mean that person would go to hell just because they didn't say the name Jesus?"
That's what they're.
And the Christians in the audience could not accept that.
And they
could not accept that.
And it's because it's been programmed in their mind to think that way. Because see, remember, that is, and that's why I have to just celebrate the man, Carter Pearson. That was the process of thinking that he started having with the young lady on the plane.
Exactly.
Got him to the point right now. And so if people could understand, because that's been one of my things for a long, I never said anything about it because again, we're trying to conform. We're not trying to cause no ripple.
Yeah.
But I thought about that for years. What about people that are sweet as could be, nice, and never was exposed to the gospel like we was exposed?
Yeah.
Are they gonna go to a place of torment?
Yeah.
I know people who profess to know the Lord, like we say, have the Holy Ghost, and they are some of the most, I would have to say, freaking people I've ever come in contact with. And so you gonna tell me the Lord gonna allow this one because they say Jesus and they're wicked to the core versus a person that is loving, and so but never was exposed? Okay, they're gonna go to a place of torment. Come on, we got to know better than
that. We've got to think better than that. And there's a scripture in Romans 2 that actually it it actually says that we should think the way we're just talking. It says in Romans 2 and verse 14, I read it, I think last week. It says, "For when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts."
Mm-hmm.
So, and then on this show, one of the Christian ladies said, God always looks at the heart. Well, if God looks at the heart, then that has nothing to do with what your mouth has said professing Jesus.
Exactly.
And so it coming out of that dogmatic mindset in the Bible Belt puts you at odds with people, or them at odds with you.
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I am surprised that we have not had more people coming into our sessions commenting things that were against us. We have been fortunate up to now to have all positivity.
Right.
People saying good things, but I know there are people that in this area do not agree with anything that we're saying.
Oh yeah. And again, because that has been the predominant religion, and their religious belief have become the predominant thing. And so going back to what y'all was talking about concerning the lady that wrote the book concerning
The wider place. Mm-hmm.
the wider place, which is a perfect word, because people are closed-minded.
Yes.
And that's what religion does. It causes us to close our minds and not be open to something that can literally awaken us to the reality of who we really are. And if we do that, then we'll realize we will see more of the manifestation of the character of God than anything else if we would just open up. And it's because we're so closed. That's why we having the one another opposing one another, and all of the division and the attacks and the wars and so forth. It's because we won't broaden our view on things.
We're stuck in what I call compartmentalization. We have our minds, our ego minds have compartmentalized everything. Exactly. Everything is boxed in. And even to the point, if you fly in an airplane and you look down at land, it's squared off. Mm-hmm. It's squared off. You would think somebody drew lines, and they did actually, property lines. It's squared off. And until you get to where there are no people. But even in our neighborhood, we've been here almost 30 years, right?
35.
And everybody here in this neighborhood has a dog or two or three. And so it's more like the dog park now, but than it was when we first got over here. But a lot of us as neighbors know each other by our dogs' names, but we don't know each other's names. And so our dogs is our common bond. That's where we meet one another. And so just the other day I was walking, and this young lady, I pass her every day, just about, walking, baby girl. And she doesn't have a dog, but she always say hello to baby girl. Hey, baby girl. And then she'll speak to me. And we always say, hey, how you doing? And the other day she stopped. She said, you know what? After all this time, I should know your name. I said, that's the truth. She said, I'm Nancy. I said, good, I'm Tony. And so now when we meet each other, she says, Tony. I said, Nancy. But our dogs have been our common bond. A lot of us know our dogs' names, don't know the people.
Wow.
So we have all of these barriers. Don't we, honey? Mm-hmm. We have all these barriers.
One man lived around the corner, had a dog when we moved over here. His name was Grady.
Yeah.
And
the dog's name was Grady.
The dog's name was Grady. So every time I saw him, how you doing, Mr. Grady? And his real name is Irving. I said, hey, Mr. Grady. And that's what I call him, Mr. Grady.
You gave the man the name of the dog.
Yeah.
And my mama been knowing me from day one to give me my name. before she left and took that last breath, my name changed.
Yeah, yeah, it
And you know what it changed to? She said to me before she died, "You a butthole."
Butthole.
That's what she said. She told me, I said, "Mama, you ain't never called nobody. You never called me that." She said, "Did I say that to you?" I said, "Yes, you did."
She did. She
Yeah, but I
did.
didn't, I just look at it and laugh.
That's
Yeah,
good.
Linda says religion
That's good.
seems to still be primitive, and it is. It's very
Yeah,
primitive,
it is.
not far removed from blood sacrifice. Now religion sacrifices them to hell. Yeah,
Yep.
it has been that way, and the fear of God is what has been taught,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not the love of God, but the fear of God.
And I'm glad you said that, Mom, because we came up in a time where we dealt with the fear of being different. We dealt with that. We because again we was trying to conform. Whereas this generation, hey, they have no fear whatsoever.
No,
They,
it's right.
I mean, literally, hey, I'm gonna be who I am, and that's it.
Yeah,
Love me or don't love me, like it or don't like it. I'm just gonna be me.
be me.
That's
Yes,
what I
yes.
mean about their freedom. Yep.
And that's good. That is revolution and evolution.
Hmm.
And a lot of them now are aware of that oneness with God, even though they're not religious, and they're aware of it, and God is very present in their lives, but it's not in the sense of how we have experienced it in church, with these ooey gooey feelings and all of that. But you'll hear them all say, I thank God for this. I thank God for that. It's there. And I'm just looking at how things are changing, and it's changing all around us. For all those of us who are older, it feels like things are slipping away.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Hmm.
It feels as if things are slipping away, but in actuality, it's just evolving.
Hmm. There's emerging where the lines are being
A
erased.
blurred, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
When I was little, they used to, my uncle and aunt used to say, "Let's go out to Double Spring, big meetings, they call it in the country." And sometimes we go there and they have them big long tables out there, and everybody done brought food from all over the country out there. You know what you're eating, you just put it out there. And when we stand in front of the church, I saw this happen in front of the church. Um, my uncle would pull a knife out on somebody right in front of the church and tell them that "I'll cut you," just like that. And my aunt would tell him, told my uncle, said, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself right here in church doing that." But he didn't care. But they said, somebody down in the woods said, "Y'all come on." Said, "There's somebody down in the woods. Uh, Bobby Joe got a half a gallon of moonshine down there." Well, I never seen so many people leave out in front of the church.
What's that song? What's the preacher was preaching. He said, I'm gonna take we're gonna take all of the wine and the liquor and pour it out at the river. We're
Down
gonna
at the lake,
throw
yeah.
it down at the river.
Yeah,
And
at the
then
river.
he said, "Now I want somebody to give me a song." They said, "Shall we
gather
gather at
at
the
the river?"
river?" Beautiful, beautiful river.
But see, that's funny because see,
Mhm.
a lot of people, especially in our culture, if they would research those songs, a lot of those songs were coded messages.
Yeah, they were.
They were coded.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
everybody knew why they was going down to the river. That's a coded message.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard my church say this about church. Said old Reverend, all the time he'd be up there preaching, he have a little shop down in behind the rostrum,
Yeah.
the podium, and he'd go down, he'd duck down and say,
He
"Now you see me, now you don't." He'd come back up and then had
preach a
another.
little bit.
He preached a little bit, then he'd go back down. You see me, now you don't. Boy, he got really loaded down there. He come up and said, "Now you see me. Don't give a damn if you do. I don't give a damn if you do or you don't."
But 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 it's funny because I just watched a show yes, I'm watching a series entitled Scratch. on
Yeah.
Netflix, and it's about this couple that got together. The man is
He like that.
Italian,
Yeah.
and the girl, she's African American. They fell in love and so forth and so on. But anyway, he died, and he wanted his ashes to be buried
Still laughing.
in Sicily, where he was from. So the young lady took, his ashes to Sicily. And so it's this part in the scene where she's sitting at the table with his mother. His mother was a devout Catholic, really pray a lot at the church and all this stuff like that. So her and the widow, the girl that her son was married to, they sitting there eating dinner. And so the black girl's drinking wine. And so the lady said, "Why do you drink wine? What is it about wine that you like to drink?" And so she poured some in a glass and gave it to her. So she looking at it. And so she grabbed the glass, and then she brought the glass down and went and closed the windows. The shutters and everything. Because she didn't want nobody to think nothing of her and her religion. And so when she came back, she drank it, and then because she's Italian, so she don't speak no English, and she tasted and sat there for a while. Then she shook her head and said,
Yeah, and
"Never had any wine."
a lot of us Christians in the evangelical Pentecostal church wouldn't have been able to handle Jesus at all because they called him a wine bibber. He sat with people who drank, and he drank with them.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's just and like I said this one other session we had. And when we first came into our liberty, we were free as an ego, not free from the ego. We were free as an ego. It was like, oh man, God's not gonna bust us with lightning. So we started going to Ruby Tuesday. We'd get us a Ruby relaxer, we wouldn't do that but put us to sleep, but we got a Ruby relaxer because we found our freedom. Then after a while, we realized, okay, we're free. We don't have to have it now.
Exactly.
And we can take it or leave it. We're not bound by you better not do it, but we're also not under the power of it.
You're not made conscious of it. And
Mhm.
that's what people, like I tell people all the time, why do we spend so much time talking about sin, don't do this, don't
Well,
do
I'm
this.
telling you this, Pastor Norman. I do believe the church has created more gay men and women
Oh yeah.
than anybody else in the streets because
Yep.
they said you better not do this. You better not have sex. You stay away from. And so it's easier to get caught up in other stuff.
Exactly.
So,
And they're making them sin conscious. They're
yeah,
more aware
yeah.
of that, because something I remember you shared this one time before, and a lot of people don't understand, and it made all the sense in the world. And this was several years you shared this with me, Mom. You was like, this month is breast cancer awareness month. All right. And you made a statement concerning why we are so making people aware of that when we're actually wanting people to be healed from it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you was
Yes.
explaining that the awareness is causing things to happen.
Yeah. It makes it more prominent.
Right, exactly.
It puts it at the forefront of everybody's mind. And
Exactly.
while it's beneficial to help people get the proper screening, it still puts fear in people. It still brings and attracts that kind of thinking that causes the cancer. And it's the same with
Exactly.
everything else. It's the same with everything. It's like when you get a car, if your car is a red Honda, you're gonna see red Hondas everywhere.
Exactly.
Mhm.
More
It's
aware. And that's happening with the situation with my car.
Subconscious attraction. Yeah.
There you go. Perfectly says subconscious attraction.
Mhm.
Whatever is on our mind, that dominant thing on our mind, we're going to attract that.
And it's even the attraction we think it's like coming to us, but it's not. It's always been there, but
Hmm.
now we're aware of it, and so
Hmm.
because we're aware of it, we see it everywhere.
There was a
Wow.
word that I used to use a lot about spirit being us being congruent. and on the same flow of
Mhm.
presence.
Mhm.
You go in your prayer and you're asking for a Dr. Pepper,
Mhm.
and your subconscious or your super self is asking for a glass of water.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's the definition of physically not being congruent.
Yes,
So
yes.
one of the reasons why we have a lot of things in church, we say, but be of the same mind.
In
The
anything,
mind, the
yes.
mind, let's bypass the mind, because the mind is just a machine.
Mhm.
It will oppose you itself
Yeah, yeah.
if you know how to talk from your super self
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and go to that direction. You can defy everything that the mind is wanting to get into.
Mhm. Mhm.
But Jesus
Mhm.
came, said that the scripture said that Jesus became uh, the flesh. He did something to the physical side and made it available for it to join in with your true self. But you got to first go after your true identity and finally get settled in. No more seeking God to get something, to go back to somebody and tell them God did it. But you'll come to the place when we talk about change. You'll give up trying to change yourself, change everybody else. And, it's like you go in the store. It's a good one. You go in the store, you see them little old ladies or some of the young ones going around the store tasting everything.
Yeah,
They don't eat a
yeah.
pear and an
Mhm.
apple. And I think about it a lot of times. I get to go to the protein department with the shakes and things. I usually get me one and walk around through the building drinking while I'm looking for my
Did you
product.
do that for
Yeah,
real?
yeah, I've done that.
Oh,
But when I get when I get up there to the counter
and
and
you
I
pay
have the
for it.
carton, my conscience be bothering me. It said, here's what it said. Now you can just put this down into the cart and just walk on out, and they won't never know. I said they may have a picture, but they ain't gonna know who you are.
It's
I, I,
but
I,
look, I
huh?
tried that. Remember, I tried that
Yeah.
when I was years ago. I was working for as manager of therapy, physical therapy. I don't know why I did this, but they had the newspapers in these vending thing machines. You could put a quarter in and get paper out. I don't know why I had this bright idea. I wanted two papers. I put a quarter in, and I decided I'm gonna get two instead of one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And before I knew it, the thing slammed shut and had my lab coat slammed in it. I couldn't get loose. I couldn't get loose until I put another quarter in it. So that
That,
didn't work. That didn't work for me at all. That didn't work for me at all. But yeah, the changes that
and I
and
like what Dad said though about and it's funny. We look back on these things hindsight when we talk about people. Oh, they changed because they found God. They found
Mm-hmm.
God. They found God. And now that you think about it, how can you find God? I mean, he's
Oh, I just reading that.
how
yeah,
can you find him like he was lost or something other like that?
yeah,
The,
exactly,
the, the
exactly.
perfect word is become aware. And
Become
so if
aware.
I'm still trying to find God, then that means I'm still yet trying to find myself.
Exactly,
I become aware
exactly.
of God, I become aware of me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm,
Hey,
mm-hmm.
Ollie, I'm glad you're with us today. He said it's our upside down approach to life. Yes, sir.
Yes.
No
Yes, sir.
more, no more debating about where God is. Now that's a subject. May throw us
Mhm.
off on the left side of the
No,
road.
that's good. Go ahead.
Um, I went into a service station. I had a guy replace a motor in one of my cars, and I went into the service station, and the guy working on the car said, "Sawyer," said, "Did you hear about that man that came in here with a dog?" And said, "The most terrible thing I ever seen." I said, "Well, what happened?" He took that dog out of the car and put that gas nozzle up his back end and filled him up with gas. I said, "Did what?" I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "He filled the dog up again." Said the dog took off running down the road and he went down to get him. And I said, "What happened to the dog?" He said he run out of gas. So, 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 so
I know where you're going.
he pulled one on me. I said, the dog, he fell down and fell over to the side ditch and run out of gas. Now, this is another way of deception or foolishness, or what do you want to call it, causing you to think a certain way. When you get to the place where you're not looking for God to come from the sky, nor to the right, to the left. You done zeroed in.
Yeah, you really let go of the sky God.
Yeah. Now, this is what I mean when I say give up the false one for the real one. When I found out, like Jesus said about children here, I was going to say that. He said, whosoever shall receive one of these little child, as in my name, receiveth me. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm the child.
And remember, in my name means in my nature.
In my nature. And they said something here about he said, and a little one or these child's same shall be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is our eternal self.
And our state of innocence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That child, I heard some prophets say that, and there's children receive Jesus, they're going to hell.
So once we reach,
she's already in hell thinking like that.
Exactly. So when we reach the state of innocence, we allow the guilt, the subconscious guilt to go away, then there is heaven. There is heaven.
A guy came up to me.
And we begin at that moment, like we said on Tuesday.
That's right.
We begin to be we are then a field of miracles.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Guy came up to me one time and said, kiss his tail, and he said, go to hell. I said, well, first thing,
kiss his tail.
Yeah. I said, if your tail that good, you ought to sell it.
Oh my God!
And I told him, I said, I ain't going to hell because I don't want to go to your house.
Hey, Vincent Kelly, he says, I don't ever won't cause God his fever. I don't know what you're talking about. But tell me
I don't need. I was sitting there trying to figure out that
God is everywhere. Go ahead.
I'm glad that he did put that statement. God is everywhere, because I don't with that about the debate about people where the location of God. Mm-hmm. Well, dealing with just Christianity anyway, and their declaration, they say God is omnipresent, which means he's everywhere, every place at the exact same time.
Yeah, that's what Vincent is saying.
So why would there be a debate on that?
Yes,
they say it themselves. He is everywhere, every given at the same exact time. So he's right there in you. He's right there in you. He's right there in me. He's right there in my wife. He's right in every at the exact same time.
Yeah, there's nowhere that God is not.
Exactly. You know why evil seems to be everywhere. We, as everybody in the earth, is projecting using their own God identity,
the shared dream,
a shared story, and it's convinced that Satan is omnipotent like God is, and it's not
like
true.
they're two gods, and they're not.
It's not true. It's not true.
And going back to the sound of, going back to what you said about your title being the sound of one, the law of one is there is only one here.
One. That's
and
it.
Playing all roles, but there's only one here.
And what I did in a demonstration of that, as I was sharing it, because I was coming from 2 Chronicles chapter 5, after Solomon had completed the temple, and they all was one sound, one voice, and the glory had manifested. And I was sharing with them, we have to understand, because I was teaching a lot about oneness in a subtle way.
Yeah, I know.
It blessed them. It blessed them so much. The stuff they were looking at me like, oh my God, I never thought of that. But the thing that I did, the demonstration that I did was, there was two musicians that were there, and one was a keyboardist and the other one was a drummer. So I asked the keyboardist, I said, what is your favorite song? What is your favorite song? And of course, he had to wrestle with it. First of all, he was trying to think of a religion. So I said, first thing I'm dealing with is your religious mindset.
Yeah.
I said, what's your favorite song?
That's not his favorite song. The beats that are outside of the church, he's got another song that's
exactly. So I told him, whatever you can put, just play. And so he came up with played with a song. And so because of the distinct sound of the song, the choir that was out there on the floor, they all started singing. So they knew the song based off of the sound. and the person who wrote the song
Okay.
because of the distinct sound. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, I want him to stop. So then I asked the drummer, I said, what is your favorite song? And he immediately gave me an answer. He was a song from Ty Tribbett, Work It Out.
Yeah.
And so I said, I want you to play it right now. So he started playing it, and all of them like, oh, because Ty Tribbett is more that
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
and like that,
Yeah.
right? So now I said, I'm gonna ask y'all to do one of the hardest things y'all ever did in y'all lives, and y'all been playing all this time. I need you to play your favorite song, and you play your favorite song at the exact same time.
Okay.
And of course, they did it. It was a mess, a literal mess. And I
Okay.
said, now y'all understand what it means to be the sound of one.
Okay. That's good,
Because
Norman. That's
even
good.
though there are two different instruments, they each have to become one with that instrument. And
Hmm.
the sound and the rhythm for each one, but there is a rhythm.
Yes.
There's a rhythm of oneness that God can
Yeah.
identify.
That's really good. That's really good.
And they
That's
were
really
like,
good.
wow.
Yeah, that's it. That's excellent. Excellent.
That
That was
was
a
a
perfect way to bring oneness to them. Perfect way.
that was the old preacher in church denomination, and they had a meeting about the building fund and all that. And he was in the church. And a long time ago, they used to take pencil, black pencil, and paint their mustache
Oh
and
my
beard on,
God.
and he was sitting there listening to them debate about what to do by the church, and went off to sleep. And we went off to sleep. He was out. He wasn't even. He wasn't in his body. He'd gone somewhere. And somebody turned around and said, "Hey, Reverend, what you think about that?" Said the Reverend, it scared him. So when he scared him, he woke up, and when he woke up, he broke out in a sweat. And when he broke out in a sweat, all that black stuff on his face just dripped down on his shirt and went off, and he passed gas right there at the church.
Oh my
I
Lord.
said, "Amen."
Hey, I now know, Dad, what's your favorite sound.
Yeah, you know what his favorite sound is.
Yeah, I
Oh,
now know what his
Hey,
favorite sound.
Tanita.
Because he's always coming up with something like
Hey,
oh, Lord.
Tanita. She said it's the ego that can't accept God is everywhere and wants to put
exactly.
him somewhere up there. That's true, baby. That is so, so true. And
God and you and us are the same place.
yes, well, you said that so many times. God is not someone else at another time, at another place.
You can't come. God is not someone
Someone
else at another
else at
time, another
another time, in
place.
another place.
Yeah.
That was his favorite
There's
saying for
nowhere you can
years.
go and not find him.
That's right.
And that's why he quit seeking.
Yes,
Yeah,
quits the
most people
seeker.
seeking because they got a leak.
The seeker eventually goes away.
Yeah, they got a leak
Eventually.
somewhere.
Eventually. Now, Linda says only one experiencing individual perspective. Yes. And Pastor Norman, that was a very good analogy that you gave them regarding the oneness, the sound of one. And there is the language of one. And that's what we're becoming more proficient in, because it's easy to talk the language of duality, the language of a separation, because that's what we're used to. But talking from the language of one, you have to constantly remember, not remember so much with the mind, but recognize that there is only one here. And in that recognition, your language spins off from that.
Exactly. That's one of the answers, because I told them I answered a question that was asked to me last year. Why we're not seeing all of the manifestations of miracles and signs and wonders like we was accustomed to seeing. And if we think about it, we become so separate. We during that time we understood, unknowingly we understood the language of one. We was actually flowing in something that we did not know. And as I began to research it and think about it, that is the only thing that Father is going to recognize is one.
You remember Jesus, and you
We
remember
are operating and even though we're different, we are yet coming together in such a pleasing arrangement. In our difference, there is an arrangement that is so pleasing that we will actually see the manifestation of Him.
Exactly. And you remember the scripture that Jesus said, uh, these works that I do, you shall do,
Yep.
and even greater works shall you
John
do.
12:14.
And
Yep.
and then the reason Jesus could say that is because Jesus was saying, I am what you are. I am what you are. And so in I think back in the day when we first came into our spiritual walk with God at all, at that time when there were a lot of healing ministers, tent ministries, all of those kinds of things, it was an attraction to that. And a lot of those men and women who with the exception of Catherine Kuhlman, who was she had very little ego in her services. The majority of them were all doing miracles, but by an egotistical separatist mind.
Mhm.
They found ways to move their mind out of the way temporarily to get miracles done. But
Mhm.
egotistically, they used it to say, I am the man of God.
Mhm.
And so I
To
think that,
authenticate themselves.
yeah. And so I do believe that that ministry of miracles is still something that should be flowing today, but not in that same mind.
Exactly.
And so now, how to do all of that without an ego
Exactly.
is
Wow. Good.
is our task.
The great debate in the
That
brick
is
and
so
mortar,
good.
the great debate in brick and mortar is God was here this morning.
Mhm.
And when you leave the church, he's gone.
And God used you.
And God used you, but he's
Mhm.
gone.
Mhm.
And then we're going to have to get back to that evening service so we can see what's going to happen. Everybody come back expecting.
So you try to reproduce it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
when you get over into the mind, ego, and you
Mhm.
get over into what is called the doing self.
Some of the greatest miracles we've seen was when we didn't realize it was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it took place. And we were a portal, but we didn't realize we were a portal at the time it took place.
I
Exactly.
went into a place, a business, and I asked when I go in to see people, I talk to them. And I said, in getting into conversation, how I saw the Lord taught me how to see him in everybody I meet. So we got to talking, and I was telling about my experience on the other side, and and at the same time I was giving her money to pay for a certain item that I was expected to come in, and she took the money, and the price that she charged me, I didn't have any small change to make the transition, and the deal was going to be over $200, and before I could get it, I had to pay the cash up front.
Mhm.
So she got the $200 and went in the back, but she said, I don't have any change. She said, I'll just let you have it for $100.
Mhm.
And these are glasses that cost about 300.
So that wasn't you doing a miracle, but
No,
that you were a field of miracles.
yeah.
So you're walking around with the aura that creates miracles
Here's what I've done
for
over the
yourself and other people.
here's what I've done over the years. Let me cut you off, dog.
No, you're fine.
I would take a chance on walking up to people. You see me do it with your grandmother. I walk into the church and I say, I'm tired of it. Part of me said, I'm tired of telling people what God is going to do.
Mhm.
And I said, if I am one with him and he and I are in the same place, why don't I just change this in the first person?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say, what's going on out there? Well, my knee been hurting. And you know what I would actually do? I'm gonna tell y'all how to work it now.
Yeah, we know what you would
Yeah,
actually do, but go
I'm gonna
ahead.
tell them.
Yeah.
I would stand there and look at the knee using meditation, imagery, and delivery.
Mhm.
I'd look at it. I'd go inside of the knee. Being that God is everywhere, He's already in there.
Mhm.
I go in there
He is at knee.
and I would fix it in the vision. I would say something like, I see the bone going back in place. I just said.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Now I said, I'm going to put this knee in place for you. Kabam. Get up, walk. That's it. It's done.
Mhm.
Now, I don't do that everywhere I go because some people don't handle it right, and it's not the right occasion.
Yeah.
But I got a way of sneaking around
Yeah.
it. And here's what I did when I went by Bojangles the other day. The lady told me it was about $7 or something, right?
Yeah. A lot of mornings I get up, we'll walk. And after I walk, I say, let's go get a biscuit. So we went to the Bojangles. And the young lady was at the window there, which takes the orders. You had felt impressed to ask her,
take this dollar, take the, she gonna come back with the change. And they said,
you asked her, did she have gas, enough money for gas?
I said, he said, give it to her. I said, I said, you need money for your gas in your car. I said, just take this and put gas in your car. She said, don't have.
Actually, you said, do you have enough gas for your car?
Yeah, okay.
That's what you actually said.
That's right.
And then she said to him, I don't have a car. I lost it in an accident.
Oh, wow.
And I said, take this and keep it or use this right here now to put gas in your car. I spoke a car into her existence.
Yeah.
Her eyes was pretty light blue, but she popped them. And she looked at me. Now, I'm not going to go back and talk to her about that car. I might not. I don't plan to go back, but sometimes I will. But I'm just telling you, when you operate in first person and you get this thing settled, no more debating about where God is, and concretely, directly, instantly know where and how to drink your liquor straight, and don't have to use a chaser. You are going to operate in a no blocking self, and you're going to release God by your own presence, being God, without asking for somebody to come and help you.
Exactly.
My help ain't come yet. Well, it's about time for it to come because you ain't doing nothing with it.
Stay.
That's right. Need to stay. Don't need to get there every time you feel something coming on you. Oh, I feel it coming up. That move of God is coming in. I believe God is about to. About to? Oh, really? Well, I'm listen. When you gonna come?
You get stirred up right at the end every time. Okay. It's we've been here an hour and 12 minutes, so we're gonna take off. But you're just getting riled up, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're just getting riled up.
I'm like old by the stove. I get cranked up.
You let us talk, then you jump in, and at the end,
I just quit.
When you grab, you're good. You're a good finisher.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
the broadcast is called Impromptu, so we just have to do that.
Yeah, I know, but I don't. I'm not saying cut you off, not by any means, but I know some people are not going to be able to stay with us a long, long time.
I met this girl here 53 years ago. I met her 2 times, and 1 time at a service station. We went to the service station. She's sitting on a 50-gallon wax can. We sitting there together. She went in the store. She leaned on the counter to get something off the counter. And I just sassily just went over there and bit on the neck. She looked at me like I was crazy. And I was. I didn't see her no more. I tried a friend of her, a fiance of her cousin, come to get me to take me down to her aunt's house, and she's gonna be down there and want me to get down there with her. When I got there, the long, tall Joe Bill was sitting beside her. I just quit, turned around, went on back up to the service station. One night I'm out driving the old truck, and I heard about a dance place called the Dungeon. Everybody went there on Friday and the weekend. I went on out the Dungeon, wasn't nothing going on, but I just decided, standing out there talking to them boys. We usually sit out there and drink bourbon and all that stuff and cut up. And I decided, I didn't really want to dance. So I decided I want to go in. I just went on to the door and the guy standing there. I said, can I come in? He said, yeah. There ain't gonna be no choice. He stamped my hand with that light thing, that blue light thing. Stamped my hand. I went on in there and I was just gonna walk around, look around. And I looked over in the left corner. There she was sitting there by herself with her cousin and her cousin husband. Oh, shucks now. So I went on over there and I sat down beside her. And I wanted to get close to the old girl. So I said, I didn't want to dance, but I said, let's dance. I got up there and did a few little moves. I couldn't wait. I gave her some sugar. Oh, what a relief it was. The next thing I hear she said, I'm ready to go home. I said, I am too, like that on my inside. So I put her out there in that old truck, and that old truck, it started raining. We got on up there close to a house in the bowling alley, and the gears in the truck locked her.
Sure did.
God was doing something in first person, and I didn't even think about it. I wasn't even interested in it. I didn't know where God was. Took the old girl home. When can I come back to see you? I'll let you know. I didn't give her time to let me know. I went back on that Wednesday, and she took advantage of me, and it's been working ever since. And I don't care what nobody say. That's the way. Now, somebody on here was talking about. Somebody was
said, I said good stuff, lots of laughs. Then he said he visited the dungeon in 1977.
Oh, Lord. Hey, and look here.
That was the first place I saw him sober, Oliver.
Yeah, somebody was on here talking about marriage. Let me tell you
Yeah,
something.
that was Miss Steele.
Yeah, Miss Steele.
Yeah,
Let me tell you
Miss
something.
Steele said that. She said she was struggling with the ideal of marriage, and I
Uh-huh.
meant to go back to her.
But you know what? Now, I don't mean no harm when I say this. When you go to a car lot, if you know the car is new.
Now, oh my gosh, you gonna say that?
If you ain't,
I know what you're gonna say.
No, I'm gonna say it right. And you go and you check it out, and you give it time. You don't just get in the thing and you got to find out some history behind it. You got to date. I mean, I dated her for 2.5 years.
That's how it runs.
Yeah, how's she gonna run this thing? And so I found out what I could say to her and what I couldn't say. And you don't get that with a girl and say the wrong thing, and you don't cut yourself off.
Well, it's easy to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's easy. So I just laid low, like I didn't talk a whole lot. So anyway, the thing of it is, if you're going to be with somebody, you're going to have to date. Now, some Christians want God to just bring the man up and just sit him in their lap. That was a lady sitting at Walmart one time.
Well, wait a minute. Before you go off on another story.
Okay.
Tanita says she wished she could have seen you cut a few steps.
Oh, yeah.
Can you cut a step now?
Yeah, but it ain't many of them, but I can cut it. I told the guy, one of these city guys working on the street out there, he's standing there talking to me. I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 44. How old the other guy? He's 30. I said, well, next month I'll be 75. And I mean, I ain't letting no grass grow under my feet, He
still tries to need it.
I'll cut a step in a minute.
He does the old man dance now.
Yeah, I do that old soft shoe tap dancing thing. But I go to the bank and they up there.
He tries to wiggle a little bit when he sees.
Oh, Lord have mercy. And I come home and get a rub down, you know what I mean? But hey, if you want to get with somebody and you're interested in it, you got to make yourself available. But that don't mean you got to go all the way to the candy store and buy bread and shack up with them and all that.
Okay.
Now,
Miss Carolyn, we will address your statements at some point. Just remind us the next time we come on, if you would.
Yeah, I've been looking
she
at the
said
whole
she's
time.
been struggling with the ideal of marriage.
I did too. I said I wasn't gonna never get married. The boys I ran with, we said I ain't gonna never get married.
And I think what she means, and I may be wrong. You correct me if I'm wrong, Miss Carolyn. I think what she's saying is she's struggling with how everyone has said marriage should be, and there's so many versions out there of what people have said. This is how marriage ought to be, and then your marriage when you get together is nothing like that, and then you start to think something's wrong.
Exactly. And it's funny because I was looking at that the whole time to the point I wrote it down and her name next to it and stuff. Matter of fact, I got to do a counseling session with a couple here later on this evening. But everyone has to remember that we all come from different environments and cultures. So what work for you guys may not work for someone else.
That's right. That's right.
They have to create a world and a culture that works for them.
Yes. Yeah, I heard T.D. Jakes years ago say marriage is not natural, it's supernatural.
Exactly.
It's supernatural. And so, and these are the days, are the days of Stedman and Oprah. People who have long-lasting relationships without ever getting married. There's a lot of people like that. In fact, our young people are doing everything backward. They'll they'll shack up, or we call it shack up. It's not shack up. They just live together, get babies, and then think about getting married.
Mhm.
In our generation, it was like you better get married first and then have a baby. But now, and if you got pregnant before marriage back in our day, it was a very bad thing.
Oh yes.
The grace of God saved me and her in that situation about children and marriage, because I wanted to be with her, and she was my running buddy at the same time being my friend.
And we've always been friends.
And so I, I just stayed around. I saw her every day.
Mhm.
Every day
we've
for 2.5 years.
We've always been friends, and we've always enjoyed each other's company. And so that's why.
Good.
Yeah,
I used to go over to her house, and the neighbors would see me sneaking in the back door, and they tell her mama when they come on, "Hey, that boy over there in your house." That ain't none of her business. I'm taking care of business.
That's a song.
Taking care of business. Taking care of business.
Yeah, Tanita says you do the 2-step.
Oh shucks, girl!
Oh, yeah.
You
gotta do the 2-step.
What's the name? What's the guy name? The young boy that sing them song we like, Bruno Mars.
He loves Bruno Mars.
I can do some of that Bruno
Mars. He
Mars
likes
stuff
to
now.
see Bruno dance.
Yeah, I cut a step with him. You get them here, leave the back door open or the front door.
They
open.
don't dance off of that.
They do steps off of that.
Or leave the door open.
Yeah, they do steps out of what they sing. They do a step or two. Them girls be doing a step.
Oh yeah.
Well, Cardi B on one of them songs.
Will you call her? Would you call her Bishop?
Cardi B. He talking about Cardi B.
Cardi B. You know Cardi B.
I know what he said.
He likes Cardi B.
What he
I
said?
know who Cardi B is, but it sounded like he said something else.
Cardi B.
He said Cardi B. I was like,
thought he said something else.
What did I say?
I hope nobody
like
else.
you said Carla B, and I was like, no, it's Cardi B.
It's Cardi B. Cardi B.
Yeah, she's very unique.
Yeah, but at the same, hey, they get it. I cut one too. But anyway,
our
this
time
is the history of
we're almost gone 30 more minutes.
And you know what, Pastor? I felt funny the first time sleeping with a girl all night long after we got married.
So you were hitting and running. You were.
Yeah, I wasn't hitting nothing. I ain't hitting no run. I wasn't hitting no nothing.
We're getting too candid now.
I'm just telling you, it felt funny, and it took me a long time to get that war off of me, because I done made a covenant I wasn't gonna never get married, and she broke. You know what? I stepped on a puddle of her and got her all over me. She broke my heart, and my suit wouldn't fit right, so I just went over.
Have mercy.
I went on in there and I invested a little bit more sugar in there, and it come out just right. So that's why I sing that song. Said a tisket, a tasket, what's inside that basket? A different kind of shredded wheat. Muffin is the name. Hot.
Hey. You gonna hire me to be your manager, because I'm gonna take you on the road. You can do stand up.
This is an extended edition.
We're rolling with the river.
Oh my God,
we're rolling, man.
I'm gonna make some money off you. We going on the road to do stand up.
Yeah. Don't get us started. Oh my gosh,
I might go buy a hot dog now.
A hot dog?
Yeah, you want one? I'll get you one. Sure will.
I don't know.
Anyway, I appreciate you guys staying on with us. We're cutting up and having fun.
Yeah.
Yes, you could have seen me could have stepped. Girl, I'm gonna tell you the truth. We used to turn at the service station. Tanita, at the service station, the old boy would come to me and say, "Come on over here."
Did y'all throw sand on?
It took that sand for grease. Throw it out there in the wash pit, and I run over there, and all 3 or 4 of me gather around. I run there and hit it and shot. Then there's a tap there they call the sand. Long time ago.
I bet you can't do it.
I can.
Right here.
No, not on that carpet there.
You can try it.
Not on that mat there.
Try it.
Let's see if I can do it. Oh boy.
Don't fall.
Hot dog. Shucks. What you talking about? that carpet, that rug down there too stiff. I can't see when you do a stand, you're supposed to be shuffling your feet like you're standing
Go ahead,
like a stand-up. You can check your history on the sand. All them old boys back there.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, that's soft shoe sand. Sammy Davis used to do that
Oh
stuff.
my God, you guys!
I've seen a guy do it. What that little girl name used to come on them black and white movies?
Oh,
Shirley
you talking about
Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple. I used to love watching Shirley Temple.
Yeah, with that black guy.
Tamina said, "Go, Pastor."
I saw a man do that tap dance that I know his name, whatever, but Shirley Temple up
What's
the
his name?
steps. Bojangles.
Yeah.
I seen a man do that Bojangle dance all the way up the step and back down. While I was interested in tap dancing, I saw a man do that for real.
Wow.
I went by his house and asked him, could he still do it? He said, yeah, but he don't do that no more. He done
I'm
got
gonna have to
old.
rub him down in some being gay after a while.
Hey, I don't mind cutting the step. I just don't have the wind to keep going.
Look, you guys, we gotta take off here. We're just going
Hey,
on.
I appreciate
and
your
on.
business. Take 2 aspirin and come and see me on Tuesday or Sunday morning.
Don't eat no Vienna sausages.
Yeah. Don't take no wood nickels now.
Did you ever eat Vienna sausages?
Do we have what now?
Do you ever eat Vienna sausages?
Oh yeah, I mean, I used to eat. A matter of fact, I used to eat a lot of those when I was in Greensboro because
You get ready to mess it up. What you told me? Can you tell them what you told me about the Vienna sausage?
Yeah, I listen to the radio broadcast every morning. And they started talking about Vienna sausage. How you should say it should be Vienna, or Vienna.
We used to say Vienna.
And they said one little girl, mama used to put Vienna sausages in the little boy's lunch for his lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And so she got a note from the teacher. The teacher said, please don't put any more Vienna sausages in your child's lunchbox. Said it's making the other children gag.
He's sitting there eating a weenie, eating a Vienna weenie, and they looking at him choking. Oh, Lord. It's terrible. That's terrible, ain't it? She nasty.
It's because it's mystery meat. It's mystery meat.
Yeah, they don't know what it's made of.
Hey, when I was there in Greensboro at A&T, my mom used to send me care packages all the time.
Yeah,
the potted meat, all of that.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. We must be hungry. We're going. Bye.
Y'all have a good week, the rest of the week, and we'll talk to you on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, everybody.